There's a strong chance you're not that far off from winning in business and at the game of life. It just takes one idea, but you gotta have unwavering belief and burning desire. If you can couple that with a lockdown strategy that's fueled by heart, hustle, and muscle, you got a shot at winning. There's one thing that all champions have in common. They get shit done. So welcome to the Get Shit Done experience. Well, we are back at it again. You are in studio with us. This is the GSDX podcast, also known as the Get Shit Done experience. We are thrilled to have an amazing guest on today. You know, we keep bringing you amazing guests. Maybe I should just keep doing that probably. We should probably stick with that, I think. It's working out pretty well. We have the lovely, amazing, brilliant, fantastic Samantha Alloway on the show today. Thank you so much for joining.
Oh my God, thank you for having me. This is so exciting.
It is exciting. And if you want to follow along, you could check out the ARC of Illinois. Illinois is il.org. Miss Alloway is the executive director of the ARC of Illinois. And when I say the, I mean like the ARC of Illinois. Also part of Illinois Women Institute of Leadership.
That's correct.
Right?
The
That
Illinois Women's Institute for Leadership Training Academy.
Oh my gosh.
I will tell. You can call us I Will.
Thank God you said it because I screwed it up.
It only took me a year to get it, so don't worry about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of words.
So Samantha has had an unbelievable background. We're going to get into that. I mean, literally just, I thought I did some research. Apparently I didn't dig deep enough. Holy cow. You have done all kinds of things in a very compact, in a very compact time, you've been on the move.
Yeah, I'm hustling, John.
You are hustling.
Yeah, I am hustling. I'm here to move. I'm here to get shit done.
Let's go. Drop. All right, great podcast. We're out.
That's good.
All right, great segue. So, how did you get started?
All right. Started as in for the ARC of
Let's go
Illinois.
let's go in the Wayback Machine, right? So, you grow up. What's the upbringing like?
Okay. Beautiful home. I was born in Chicago. So I was born
go.
on the north side of Chicago. My dad is a Vietnam veteran. My mom is a redheaded Creole from the north side of Chicago. When he got out of the Army, he came to Chicago and he met this redhead and he fell in love, right?
Uh-oh.
Left his family in Phillipsburg, Pennsylvania, moved to Illinois. They fell in love. They started a family. Pretty typical start, you know?
Yeah.
Then we moved to the suburbs and we moved to Streamwood, Illinois. That's where I would consider I was raised from. Beautiful home, suburban upbringing. I have twin sisters who are almost 5 years younger than me.
Nice.
So I was kind of like the third parent. I was always a leader. Like I kind of was like a born.
You were the bossy lady is what you were to them.
I had to be because they
Yeah.
were two. So I had
Yeah.
to help my mom out. You know, that's kind of that sibling, dynamic, the real sibling dynamic. And it was honestly an amazing upbringing. I played basketball and I fished with my dad and we learned to golf. My dad was an avid golfer.
Let's go. I love him already. Served our country and can golf. He's pretty much an American hero.
A stout Republican.
Let's go.
He had conservative upbringing. My mother was a liberal, so I always had that
my gosh.
dynamic in the house. But also the lesson that I truly believe is that if you listen to each other, we're always more alike than we are different.
Oh my gosh. And by the way, there's so much beauty in that because there's so much balance in there. And I think that we've grown so far apart. And I think that we need to take a step and realize that, there's so much more that we have in common. And you're right. You're making the symbol. You're making the sign. We need to breathe. We need to breathe. We need to talk. And we need to listen.
We need to listen.
We need to listen.
See, the art of listening. Samantha actually means listener. Just so you know, the name of the meaning of my name is listener.
In what language?
In the sign that my mom bought at an art sale that was above my bed. So I think it was Old English, of course.
So it's garage sale language.
Garage sale language.
Yes. Flea market.
Yeah, it's a flea market language. Yes, it means, for all I know, it doesn't. But that's what it said above my bed.
Fair enough. We'll take it.
So it was a really beautiful upbringing. My mother was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was in IT, actually. So my dad actually helped manufacture some of the first MRI machines that were sent to Vietnam.
No kidding.
Yeah, I had a brilliant dad. And unfortunately, my father became really ill when I was 14.
Sorry to hear that.
And he passed away the day after Christmas when I was 16 years old. So I was 16 and my sisters were 11.
Well, you grew up fast.
We grew up real fast. And it changed the entire dynamic because you have this very stable two-parent household. Our grandmother even lived with us. So big family. And very quickly, we were being raised by a single mother, and not just a single mother, but a single mother through grief. But she was the toughest lady
Let's go.
ever wanted to meet. She was stern. She was brilliant. I already mentioned she was a redhead, you know, so she had that
that comes with
fire.
comes with the color.
That's right.
Yeah.
She's a fiery, green-eyed, redheaded Creole. So we're Spaniard, African, English, and French Canadian.
There's always savings, but it's about way more than savings alone. Total Technology Solutions Group redefines managed print services. Excellence is the minimum standard. TTSG is a true managed print service provider, deeply understanding your technology and business goals. Your business is unique. Our solutions are tailored to your current and future business goals. Our customer-first approach empowers and delights. TTSG can ensure your technology environment will scale as your business does. So as you navigate business and constant change, partner with TTSG for premium advisement and seamless implementation of your technology goals. We set the bar high. Your people deserve it. Peace of mind. Powerful innovation. TTSG.com. What a fantastic mix
It's
there.
a little mix, you know? It's a little mix there. And she just had this heat behind her and the grit to somehow get through all that pain.
Yeah.
And we did, you know, and I went off to school. My sisters went off to school. And then we had another very strange turn when she passed away. So she passed away when I was 25.
Jeez.
From lung cancer.
Wow.
And she kind of left me with this, of course, didn't want to leave me.
Yeah.
But she had to leave me. She had to go. She was in pain.
She never left you. You couldn't see her.
I couldn't see her. Yeah. Because trust me,
she's in here right now. I feel redhead energy in here.
You would know if she was here.
I feel some redhead energy in here. Who's tapping me on the shoulder?
That's my mama.
All right,
believe
Mama.
it too.
What's happening?
And she passed away, so it left me in a very interesting dynamic because I went to school for production, and I was currently at that time I was working as a visual presentation manager for the Rockford Ice Hogs and the Chicago Blackhawks.
Nice.
And I wanted to direct the Grammys. Like I wanted to be on your side of the table.
Okay.
I wanted to be the one bringing in people, and I never wanted to be necessarily the front-facing person.
Well, see, that's where we got this wrong here because I have the face for radio. You have the face for TV. You should have been out front.
Well, thank you.
Now you're out front. Let's go.
Now I'm out front. Now things have shifted, right?
Okay.
My life changed, and my sisters, I was there to take care of them, and I felt very driven to be a parent, in a way. Even though they weren't my children, I wanted to make sure that they were safe. And so I quit my job because I was working so much in production, and I started doing odd jobs so I could be home for the kids. They weren't kids. They were 20, but I didn't have a lot of family outside of my mom and dad, so I took it on. Took it on chin. Let's go. Like we're gonna
next
save
lady up.
That's right. Now I'm in charge, So I took over the home and I took care of my sisters, and I worked 3 jobs. I was like waiting tables and working human resources at Babies R Us to like make my hours fit. I could take care of my youngest sister, Sabrina, who was really going through it at the time.
I'm sure.
Yeah, she was really
Very
going
tough.
through it. And as we're in that fight, when I'm 27, just turned 27, I was diagnosed with cancer. So I was diagnosed with stage 1B cervical cancer, and it was about 20 months after my mom died of cancer. So I'm just a lot of fun. That's what it is.
Okay, so hold on a second.
Okay.
Like you're saying all of this with a beautiful smile on your face.
Yes.
Like this is actually a sad story.
It could be a sad
It
story.
could be.
It could be. Yes.
I mean, it's pretty devastating, but you somehow this is going to end up. This is going to end up a fairy tale, and I don't think it's going to end up a fairy tale on this podcast because the story is still being written.
It
but
is.
it's
I like that.
There's a hero story in here.
Oh, I wouldn't use the H word,
I don't know.
But what it was is that really was a call to action. I found my diagnosis as a decision to be made. I was not taking care of myself. I was morbidly obese at the time. I was giving all of my energy in the world to everyone in my world, but very little attention to me. And I could tell it took its toll. Here I am. I'm sick. I have no reason to be sick, but I think it was the stress.
Yeah.
It was my body's response. Your immune system's built off your stress levels.
Aren't there studies that say that like cancer can be caused by stress? Like
absolutely. Yes. So it was a moment in time for me to look at my life and say, what is it that I really want? And something I was afraid of with cervical cancer is children. I really wanted children. My whole life, when I was 5 years old, I told everybody I was going to have 3 sons. I have 3 sons, by the way.
Wow.
So there was some sort of self-fulfillment there. I knew this is what I was going to do. And I was like, well, I have to do it. I have to live. I have to be okay. So I sure did. You know, we had three different procedures, very painful procedures, but I overcame that. And the moment I had that clear biopsy, I got married 3 hours later, basically, because I was like, it's time to have children. Yeah. My mind sometimes is just too focused.
You just roll. You just go.
We gotta go. Let's go. So I was married within 6 months, no kidding, and was pregnant within 3 months after that. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this done, if you will, for the podcast.
Well, you can call it get shit done.
Get shit done. You know, okay, we're gonna have kids. And all of that to say that there were a lot of decisions made in grief. A lot of decisions I wish I had more grief. I have more grace with that 26-year-old, you know?
Oh my gosh. Literally, see, something's happening here.
All right.
Because I had two ladies on yesterday. Yeah. One of them brought up the idea of grace. She said it twice. And she was talking about offering grace to other people. Yeah. And somehow the conversation got on to the fact that it's important to offer ourselves grace because it gives us the ability to offer more grace to others. It's really difficult to fully offer grace if you're not graceful with yourself. I love the fact that you just said offer grace, because I think that when you do that, it actually is like fuel. It's like supercharging yourself to run at a faster pace.
It is. And it's not easy to do, especially when you're in crisis.
You got so many things coming at you.
Yeah. And if I look back, at the time, it didn't feel like crisis. At my age now, at 40 now, I look back, I'm like, nah, girl, you were in crisis. Like your whole family, everything you had fallen apart, but you just refused to let it slip, you know? So had child number one, and within 20 months, baby number two came along. At this point, I was doing kind of odd-end marketing jobs, and I worked at the front desk at the Streamwood Park District. Yeah. You know, I didn't really know where my life was going. I thought I was going to be kind of a stay-at-home mom, and that's what I saw with my mom, and then I'd go to work, you know, someday I'd get my career back. And my second child, when he was born, our whole life just changed. He was different. And I don't mean different to say negative, but I already knew when I was pregnant, he didn't respond to music. He didn't respond to me.
When you say respond, like wasn't kicking?
No kicking, no moving. Like my oldest Jax, though, I mean, he really has that Creole in him. I mean, that baby was dancing.
He was in there doing the Running Man.
Absolutely. He did the wobble at like 12 weeks old and did it well, too, by the way. Like he just had that. So I was like, well, maybe this is the Swedish baby. That's okay. You know?
Can you teach someone how to Dougie from the womb? Is that possible?
I tried.
Yeah.
Yes. You used, what was that, like Teletubbies, and we tried to teach him how to, no, we did not.
Maybe he was teaching you how to Dougie.
He was teaching me how to Dougie.
I mean, it's possible.
Teaching my Dougie, teaching my back to hurt, teaching all kinds of things.
Yeah, a lot of lessons.
And when the second little one came along, I knew.
You felt it.
I don't explain. It's just the mother's instinct of something is different. We had a very, very traumatic birth with Ellis. Ellis Paul is his name.
It's a great name.
And a beautiful boy. And he was born at 12:23 during a tornado. There's a tornado touchdown up in Rockford. And in Winfield, Illinois, this baby was born. And I should have known this Aries. On April 11th, he entered the world. And the moment they put him on my chest, I can't explain it. I just knew. I didn't know how to connect. I didn't know how to communicate with him. And
maybe he was telling you, hey, Mom, I'm about to take you on a ride.
He sure was.
Yeah.
And he was. And for 7 months, he didn't nap. And for a year, he didn't know how to pick up tools, and he didn't know how to speak, and he wasn't doing the appropriate babble. And he was physically, though, off the charts, 10 months old, walking. You know, able to climb at 11 months old. He was physically so capable that the doctors kept telling me,
he's fine.
In due time, don't you worry yourself. I'm like, you don't understand. I'm losing my mind. Like, I can't nurse him. He won't take a bottle. What am I going to do? It was within like year 2 that I knew, I believed, I should say, that my child was autistic. And I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know who to ask for help. When I asked my family, they had never seen this before. And I wasn't really connected with most of my family. So they're like, he seems fine to me. And if you hear that, you want to hear.
Yeah, you want to hear that.
Yeah, you don't want to hear, oh, no, something's definitely wrong with your kid. Like, you want to believe he'll probably grow out of this.
You want to believe you're not seeing it right.
Yes, more than anything, you want to believe that. And like I had said, you know, my sisters were younger. They were off living their lives. I was kind of in this, well, I guess I'll just be honest. I think you're the right person to be honest. I was in hell. I was breaking. I was devastated.
And this is after you've recovered from cancer.
Yeah.
So that should have been the hell.
It was
But
not.
this is now the hell.
That was easy compared to this fight.
Wow,
The
okay.
marriage completely fell apart. Like there was resentment, there was contempt because I'm like, I used to be something, I used to be a boss and now look at me in these ugly ass sweatpants. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but like what's happened to me? And I lost so much of me in that process. And very slowly, I started to get me back. I realized if I was going to help him, whatever was going on, I had to get me back or we weren't going to be able to maintain his process.
Again, we said this yesterday. Flight, you're on a flight.
Yeah.
They're doing the buckle the seatbelt thing, right?
Yeah.
And they say, in the event of altitude, you please put on the mask before you put it on others.
Yes.
The concept there is you kind of can't help somebody if you're dying.
No.
Right? So you kind of got to make sure you put the mask on first so that you can breathe. Then you can help others breathe. And this is what you're talking about.
Yes.
Like you had to figure out how to breathe because you knew you had a big time thing coming where you're going to have to help somebody else get through with their journey.
Yeah. That's exactly what that felt like. But I was not putting my mask on, to your point. So I just couldn't breathe, thinking I could help everybody. No, I couldn't. So very slowly but surely, I started to find myself. And I found that through fitness. I decided I was going to start doing green smoothie cleanses and getting why am I eating like this? I know this isn't good for me. So why am I making the choice to do it? And I recognized it was a lack of self-love.
It's a shame that poison is addictive.
Woo. And it is.
It is. It'd be great if celery was addictive. Right?
No, you can train yourself.
You can train yourself, but it's discipline.
It was a lot
So much
of
discipline.
self-discipline.
Yeah.
So I started doing those disciplines through cleanses and through fasting and through discovering, don't give in to every temptation that comes your way. And then I turned to fitness. I started doing Pilates. I started doing hot yoga. I fell in love with the process of loving myself. That's what it felt like.
Boy, that's a good process.
It was.
I've gone through that process.
Yeah.
It's an interesting process.
It's a scary process.
It's a scary process because you're kind of like, am I being self-indulgent right now? Or
Yes.
But again, you got to keep going back to the fact that we said this as well. You can't really forgive others until you forgive yourself, right? So you have to forgive yourself. Yeah. That's the first step.
Yes.
And then once you do that, then you have to forgive others. And it's almost like this freedom hits you. And it sounds like as well, you started stacking habits.
Yes.
And that is powerful when that happens. So you now conquer the fitness and the health. What comes after that? Because typically when you get one going, you're like, all right, what's next? And then the next thing comes. So what's the next thing that came right after the health and fitness?
I found my voice. So
I saw you on The Voice. You
Did
made it
you
to
see
like
me
the
in-
third
you
round.
saw me. Did you see that?
Different voice. No, that wasn't you.
Not
Different
that
voice. Okay, so
But
you found your voice.
It might as well have been.
Might as well have been.
Let me tell you, because for me, I was told, and this is a little personal, but I feel like this is a
Let's
personal
rip.
discussion.
I'll get personal with you if you want to get personal because I got some stories too.
All right, good. That makes me feel better.
Yeah.
So I was told from a young age the things that I was not. And the things I was not was pretty. The things that I was not was attractive. And the thing that was not to be in front of people. I don't have the face. I don't have the body. I don't have the means. So whatever you're going to do it from behind.
Yeah.
And I really believe that about myself. In this journey, as I told you, like my fitness, I lost 115 pounds. So it wasn't a small undertaking that I decided.
That's
and
a
when
whole
I got
thing.
there, I was like, the only thing that was in my heart is like, I didn't believe in myself. Imagine how many other people are not doing this for themselves simply because they don't believe they can. So I wanted to become somebody that could tell them they can.
Yeah.
So I became a fitness instructor.
Get out of town.
And I taught Inferno Hot Pilates, and then I eventually became a yoga teacher as well, a yin yoga, and then became a personal trainer to give people their voice back. And that was a way to keep myself accountable, but also to keep life amazing, to keep that purpose, that center of helping others, first off, by helping myself.
Yeah, you didn't become a personal trainer because you're like, oh, this is going to bring me to economic freedom.
No.
You became a personal trainer because you saw specifically what had happened to you and how it had changed your life and your perspective and your mindset, which ultimately then, I could feel the cortisol just going away, right? And so then you essentially say, how can I turn this into purpose? And if you have a career that is purpose driven, then man, you really got something going. So you become a personal trainer,
Yes.
and you're helping these other people. What's the feedback now from people that you're helping?
I was so loved. And I don't even mean that sounds
Yeah.
arrogant. I was so loved by my students. My students lifted me on their shoulders. My students, I will love you all forever. If you ever seen this journey, they believed in me so much that I was like, I would be wrong to not believe in myself. And that just brought this confidence and this voice of, because not only when you're fitness, like a group fitness, you're not just like you are in front of people.
Oh, you're competing
in booty shorts,
Yeah.
and sports bras.
I was told that I'm not allowed to wear the booty shorts anymore, which I think
if
is.
you do hot yoga, you can now, John.
Okay.
I wouldn't wear it here.
Yeah,
That is
no,
my
it was here.
personal-
It was here that they told me.
See that? No, that.
All right, I'm gonna rethink it.
I could talk to Tim about it.
Yeah, if you would, because I really got it. I mean, I went out and bought a bunch of them.
Did you?
So
Colored or?
Of course.
Yeah, the
All kinds of
zebra
colors.
print.
I'm not gonna just wear black and white. I mean,
I
we gotta go.
appreciate
We gotta. We gotta
I respect your
accessorize,
style.
right?
It just gave me this confidence that, well, if I could do this, what else am I wrong about myself? What else am I?
What were you
capable of
wrong
doing?
about?
Almost everything. Okay, that was the thing. I thought I couldn't handle my son. I couldn't handle this relationship. I couldn't handle my life. Like, I was only here to make everybody else happy. I was only here to make everybody else secure. And it didn't matter how much pain I was in. I was so wrong.
Some of that was created by your circumstance, and some of that was created by the fact that mentally you were telling yourself at that point you had to be there for everyone.
Yes.
So you were telling yourself that, and you had forgotten completely about yourself.
Yes.
So now you catch yourself,
did.
and you start making these changes.
Yes.
And all of a sudden you become better for everyone else too.
Better for everybody else. So I got my son assessed. He was able to go through early intervention services at the local school district, District U46, and they were phenomenal. And they changed his entire life. This child I thought would never speak. This child I thought would never be able to play with other kids, never be able to eat with a fork, never be able to sit at a table. We didn't go to a restaurant. We couldn't go anywhere. His behaviors were violent for many
Really?
years.
Interesting.
Yeah. He struggled a lot, but it was, a behavior is just a communication. It's just a communication we don't know how to understand. And when I started recognizing that the real core issue was him and I didn't know how to communicate, and we focused on that as a family, man, the whole world changed.
So he's the middle child.
He's the middle, because there was a surprise COVID baby.
Of course there was.
Yeah, you couldn't end it there, right?
What else were you supposed to do?
We didn't have a lot going on at that point. Might as well have a kid.
Like, we can only do so much karaoke in the family room. Well, let's have a baby.
Yes, he is the middle child. He was now doing outrageously well. He is mainstream fourth grade, District D300. He is a black belt martial artist.
Let's go.
He is working now in Taekwondo. He left traditional karate. Now he's doing Taekwondo. He has more friends than I can keep up with. He is an outstanding brother, big and little. He's doing wonderful.
That's a question that comes up.
Yes.
Children that have special needs like that become spotlighted because of that special need.
Yeah.
You have 3 kids.
I do. 3 sons.
This child that has to have this special attention, these special needs, occupies a lot of your time and energy.
Not
which
as
means
much
that
now, but yes.
which means that the oldest and the youngest, they have to show some grace.
Yes.
Right? So kudos to them, right?
Yeah.
For understanding and probably being ultra supportive, while at the same time probably struggling with it a little bit because they need some attention too.
Well, let me clarify.
So how do you balance all that stuff?
That's a great question. I will clarify that by the time Emmett came along, Ellis was in such a place that Emmett has no idea Ellis is autistic. Like, he does not see any of those
He's just
behaviors.
Ellis.
He's just Ellis. But Ellis now is like, you have to understand, even if you met him walking in here, you might not know he was on the spectrum.
He's just Ellis.
Yeah, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Because globally speaking, so the Boston Global put out a report. 60%, okay, I want to make sure I say this correctly. If services are provided to children before the age of 3, 60% of those children that were served by the age of 6 no longer have those behaviors. Early intervention is key to success. 60%, and we're only talking about autism, by the way, but it helps with all different sorts of disabilities, but with autism specifically. So we were blessed that he started prior to the age of 3, and so many of those behaviors by the age of 6 were.
And that intervention is to help them to cope, but also to assimilate?
Yes, well, also to to learn to speak, to learn to use tools, to learn to hold a pencil, all the other oddities that come with the autism spectrum. It's called ASD, autism spectrum disorder, for a reason. It is a spectrum. And some people may just have, you may never know anything of how their brain is computing information. And others, we have more intense behaviors. But Ellis would be what we would consider on the lower side of behaviors now, due to ABA therapy. He did applied behavioral analysis therapy in home. I realize we're kind of going in circles.
No,
here.
but
feel free to bring me
we're
back.
weaving.
Yeah, we're bobbing and weaving.
Bobbing and weaving.
Yeah.
You know, the idea of having a child that's getting all of that attention.
Yeah.
You have two other children. Sometimes the spotlight goes away from them. So with that being the case, how do you make sure that you manage all of that? Because as a mom, right?
Yeah.
You're fired up because you're gonna change your son's life for the better. And you're going to get out there and you're going to make shit happen because that's just the journey that you're on.
Yes.
Meanwhile, you've got these two other children that, of course, are wanting that type of attention as well. So I can only imagine having three boys myself, and you know, they all are different. They all demand different time and energies.
Yes.
So that just makes it even more difficult that you've got that additional disability that you're playing into.
Very true. So that's a great question. So what it was when Jax was small, when they were small, because they're only 20 months apart, the oldest two, it was a lot of time just for Jax. There were days that we didn't send Jax to school. We sent Ellis to school, and we made sure Jax and I went to Big Apple Bagel.
Yeah.
You know, we went to the park alone. To this day, like, I pick him up. I hope, Ellis, if you watch this, you don't hear this part. I take him to Starbucks, just the two of us, you know?
Yeah.
But I get you candy too. Don't worry about it. Don't get mad. Like, I always balance it.
Yeah.
But I make sure to give Jax, because Jax also was basically a born advocate and a born leader. Because to tell a 2-year-old, oh, your brother's slapping you, but you can't slap him back. And then balance that with, no, you can't let kids on the playground slap you. You slap them back.
yeah, exactly.
You don't have to take that from them, but you do have to take it from your brother. How do we navigate that? How do we explain that, Jax, we understand Ellis may hit you and you don't like that, but you can't hit him back because he's not doing it because he wants to hurt you. He's doing it because he's trying to communicate.
Yeah.
But that little kid, Tyler, over there, you can go ahead and push him off the slide.
You can just give him the knuckle sandwich.
That's fine. And we'll be there to pick you up and take you for Burger King for lunch, like my mom did when I got in a fight. You know, so it was a very difficult balance, to your point. With Emmett, by the time the little one came along, we just live in his house. That's it. He already knows he's the boss, and he's annoyed. He's the baby, and he's the baby by 6 years, 6 and 8 years. So he knows he's the boss, and he's very kind and benevolent that he lets us all live in the house.
Well, good of him.
He's such a good man.
Yeah, he's really allowing you into his world. Good
That's
for
it. So
good for Emmett.
Their personalities are so different.
That's fun and also difficult.
Yes.
So all this now strengthens you.
Yes.
And it has to play into your creativity of interacting with people.
Yes.
So how does that? Well, let me ask you this, because we talked about this. I have imposter syndrome too, and you alluded to it. Yeah. And by the way, I think a lot of people that want to really be something big, right, probably have it and overcome it. Do you think that some of that is helping you to blast through it? Because you were on that journey, but that wasn't your businesswoman, professional, now I'm really going next level journey. That was your, how do I get the world in balance, and how do I create the foundation? And now that you've got that stable, now you're going full businesswoman, right? Yeah. So did that strengthen your ability to kick through that imposter syndrome that you probably had as you were starting to make that journey?
Yes.
Okay.
My boys give me all the power.
Yeah.
They do. And they believe in me. I mean, they believe in me so much. Yeah. I cannot tell you how many times per week out of the three of them, they tell me they're so proud of me for what I do. You know, and I'm like, is it because it's hard being a working mama. Like, any mama would say that, but being a CEO is different. They're used to seeing my laptop at the table, that I'm like, I'm going to feed you all these chicken nuggies, and then I'm going to have to send off a couple of these emails to not fall behind, and then we're going to spend quality time together. So I think finding the work-life balance is hard, but they absolutely, if I could do this, if I could overcome this, yeah, I can probably lead an organization.
Okay.
I might as well go for it.
And that's exactly what you're doing right now. So let's talk about the arc of Illinois.
Let's.
Okay, so you are one of
19.
one of 19
Yes.
that has led an organization like this, that actually has a personal experience in their life of dealing with it. That is very interesting. Number one, that you're one of 19, because I would think that would.
I meant my staff. So I'm sorry. I said I cut you off on accident. I'm one of 19. My team is 19.
Okay. So I'm referring to you're one of the very few that are leading an organization like this that has an intimate and daily situation or, lifestyle that your customers, if we can call them that, also have. So talk about being able to relate to your marketplace.
Okay. Well, I can relate so intimately, right? Because I've lived it.
Mm-hmm.
And to my story prior of like I said, I was in hell, and that's a hard thing to say. I've been really blessed to have the opportunity to present a very dynamic presentation at 3 different conferences where I've talked about my truth of how hard it was, that I saw no reason to live, that I was going to end my life when I was in that turmoil. And if I can't be a mother, what can I do? What can I ever do right?
Mm-hmm.
And every time I've told these, like I told you, my marriage fell apart. Our life completely changed. I've shared these truths in a group. I've never not had less than 15 women, almost always women, but then the fathers, they're always there for support, tell me too. I've never heard somebody say it out loud, though.
Did you get a God tap?
Did I have a what?
A God tap? When you were having those emotions and feelings about ending your life, did you get a God tap? Because I did. I had the same thing.
That's what it's called?
Yeah, I got a God tap. Like, intimate, like, across the face, saw it, like, hey, not now.
I felt, wow, I can't believe you're asking
me
this.
I'm asking you because I've had it. And I get it daily. I get it daily. I see numbers.
Really?
I see numbers in rows.
Okay.
Daily. I could go look at a piece of content that I created, and it will be 444, 444 impressions.
Numbers.
I see numbers on, and then I'll be packing up or doing something. I'll just decide to look at the clock, and it'll be 444. And this could be within 10 minutes.
Me too.
And then I'll be driving home, and I'll look at where the mileage on my car is, and the last 3 digits will be 444.
Or the clock.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and by the way, 444 means allow divine timing to happen. I
didn't know I was going to church today.
Yeah.
But
so did you get that? Did you get that tap?
So I didn't feel a tap. What I felt was a burning fire from my heels through my entire body. And as I've told this story before, it felt like, oh, hell no. That's just what it felt like. Because I went to people for help. I went to my very small circle and I asked for help. And they were like, you'll be fine. And when I realized I've given so much of myself to certain individuals that when I was in need, said, you'll be fine. There was just something that came over. So that was a God tap. I guess it was a God wave. God was like,
It's a rush.
Yeah, it was a rush.
When I call it a God tap, I don't know if it's actually called that, but that's just what I call it. But
I love that.
But some people call it a God wink. Could be a wink. Whatever it is.
It was a burning.
It can't be
imperative.
anything else. I don't know what else it could possibly be.
It was a burning imperative of like, absolutely not. You have you're just getting started. And well, they were right because I was just getting started. Yes, that's exactly
Feel
how
the same way.
Felt. Yes. Oh, wow.
Okay, so now you go to the Arc of Illinois.
Yes.
Was there a career before that led you up to this point that is giving you the strength to get to this level?
Yes. Can I share this little nugget? This is such a great nugget.
Okay.
So as I told you, I found my voice. I became a fitness instructor. And at that time, I instructed this really incredible guy. He'd come to my 5:30 a.m. classes, and he would show up with his mat, and he had the best energy, and he had the kind spirit, and everybody loved him. You may have heard of him. His name is Sean Jeffers.
Yeah.
And he was my yoga student. Let's never forget who was in charge first, Sean. It was me, right? Like I was his teacher. And he would bring me this light, and he always would tell me that he believed in me. And I would share with him stories of my son at the time. And he's like, Samantha, you need to come to Little City, you know? And I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do at Little City. I would teach you guys yoga. I don't know what I'm going to do there. I couldn't see the path. Eventually, I went back to school. I became a professional paralegal. I worked for Myers and Flowers in St. Charles, the best law firm in St. Charles, probably in the state. And I became a legal advocate working on a few different cases. And at that time, quite frankly, I got really upset because I found out how much money they were going to make on a case. And I was barely making enough to get the gas between point A and point B. And I was like, I'm sorry, these attorneys make what? And they should make it, don't get me wrong. But I was like, I have to do more with my life. I'm working hard too. So I kind of was pissed off and I Googled director of. And the first thing that came on my screen was director of government relations for Little City Foundation.
So if you're playing along, you just watched the Sean Jeffers episode last week. So how, once again, everything is connecting.
You see that?
Yeah. And he talked about doing hot yoga. He did not mention you, Sean. Shame on you. I don't really mean that because you're a fantastic human. I felt like I was talking to my dad through him.
Oh, he's the best.
Oh my gosh.
He's the best.
Just like the wisdom that bleeds out of that man.
Oh yeah.
I felt like I was in, I never want to put another human on such a pedestal because like we're all human.
Sure.
But I knew I was in the presence of greatness.
You were in the presence. Yes. Yes. And I always knew that about him too. And to know he believed in me. So I called him. When I saw this immediately, talk about the God tap, I felt, oh my God, I have to call Sean. I'm not going to even apply. I have to call him. And I'm like, I don't know if you remember me, Sean. I was like, well, I used to teach you yoga. And
he loved that.
We did yoga together. And he called me and he was like, Sam, I can't get you the job, but I think I can get you an interview. And he got me in the door and I interviewed with Tina and I got the job. And when I got that job, I took that, I'm a firm believer that opportunities are not given, opportunities are taken. You have opportunities every day come your way, and it's up to you, what are you going to do with this opportunity? I got that job, and I worked like that was my life's purpose. If there was an event, I was there. If there was a legislator, I emailed them. If there was a legislator, I called them. If there was a Cook County commissioner, if there was a new state rep, I was shaking hands. I was working so hard to make myself known because I knew something this incredible was not going to come my way again. And if I didn't take full advantage of it, I was going to be left behind like everybody else. And
okay, you found your voice.
Yes.
Because, I mean, you found your voice. Like, it's coming through. Like, you could turn it down and the podcast is going to turn itself back up. Like, you found your voice. So you just go into full attack mode is what I'm hearing. Like, but you're doing it with a smile on your face, right?
Yeah.
I can only imagine when you're smiling and dialing, you're making these phone calls. Like there's a tiger inside, but you're smiling.
I sure am.
You're smiling. You're smiling. I'm about to bite you, but I'm smiling while I'm doing it. That's kind of
you're not going to see it coming.
That's the energy coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
so you're making all these phone calls.
Yes. With Sean as my CEO, and then Sean retired.
Yeah.
So we got in a new CEO, and that CEO was Ms. Marie Newman, former Congresswoman Marie Newman.
Oh.
Very different energy. And the different energy was that she was in Congress. So I was the director of government relations. I was scared. I was like, well.
She knew your role a little bit better than maybe
than I did. I was like, well, that's been a fun run. You know, and I was like, think of how many people she has that could do this job.
Yeah.
She's probably going to push me right out of here. But I'm not going to act like I care. I'm going to act like I'm here to do my job. I know exactly what I'm doing. Did I? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. But I wasn't going to let anybody see me sweat.
Yeah.
And I was going to give it my all. And the deeper I got into the industry and the deeper I got into people was that this industry, oh, thank God, it's not just waivers, it's people. Now, people I understand. If I can work with people and if my job is to align people, okay. Now this
comfort.
This I can do.
You've been doing that since your dad left this earth.
That's right.
You were doing it.
This I can do.
Okay.
And this I believe I can do better than most.
IT decision makers, this might sting. Frustrated with IT issues, security threats, and the stress of your technology infrastructure? Your technology should blend seamlessly with your business objectives. Technology infrastructure management with limited resources can be exhausting and counterproductive. Do you have an MSP but still have problems and technical hiccups? GSD's advisement, proactive maintenance, cutting-edge cybersecurity, cloud solutions, data backup, and local 24/7 help desk can change the game. Your technology should outpace your business operations to allow for growth. and proactive strategies should prevent issues before they arise. Get back your time and your money with GSD. Drive business forward. Leave the technology to GSD. GSDnow.com. And by the way, also a God-given gift. There's no course on how to be effective with people. There's books. There's books, how to win friends and influence people or whatever. Like there's books about how to do it, but I really do believe that the ability to transfer energy and to inspire and move people is a God-given gift. And if you can tap into it, you can be very powerful, regardless of your education level, regardless of your training and your expertise. Yeah. You always have a shot if you have that.
I agree, and I felt it. I felt I was in the right spot. I felt I was in the right industry. These were people trying their entire task every day. How many people can we help? And that's my heart. Mm-hmm. That's what breathes life into me. Who can we impact? And how can I use my strengths to impact others, not just my son, but recognizing my son's actually doing pretty good. Mm-hmm. But let's look at all these other folks that could really use an advocacy, a strategic advocacy. So learning about legislation, working with congressional representatives, going to Washington, D.C., led me to apply for the Illinois Women's Institute for Leadership Training Academy. We will call it IWIL, which is a very prestigious and very intense training program that trains women to either run for office or leadership. Within 4 months of me being in that program, I became a CEO of the Arc of Illinois. So I left Little City. That's where I worked for. I was only there for 19 months. It was a pretty short
Sounds
tenure.
like it was a powerful 19 months.
I worked hard, and I made a lot of connections with the Arc of Illinois. The former CEO and a lot of the other trade organizations, they became friends. They became people I counted on, and they knew they could count on me. Like if we need a meeting, just ask Sam. She'll pull it off. And I'd pull it off. I didn't know how, but I was going to. There's this quote from Dolly Parton, and I live by it. I know what I know. And I know what I don't know. But what I don't know, I know who does know, and I'm going to call them and I'm going to find out. And I
love it.
That is how I strategize myself. Okay, maybe I don't have to have every answer, but I do have to start building a rapport of people that do. And I think when we bring the people together, that's when we create impact.
Okay. So now you're here. You're in the big seat.
Yeah.
Right. You're calling all the shots.
Yes.
You're leading a team. So when you walked in here, one of the initial conversations, first question I asked is, how's business? And you lit up. And the reason that you lit up is because not what you're doing, but because of what your team has elected to adopt and buy into. Yeah. And they are surprising themselves, but you're not surprised by it.
No.
Because you saw it in them already. Yes. And they just keep going. They just keep going for the next step and the next step.
Yes.
And now they're starting to pass you and you're going, wait a minute, I got to catch up to you guys.
That's right.
Right?
Just how I would ever dream it to be. Yeah. I have the strongest directors in the state of Illinois. I will go head to head with anybody on that. Every single one of our directors at the Arc of Illinois is a parent of an individual with an intellectual or developmental disability. And now that includes their executive director. All of us have walked in the footsteps of the people we serve. And if that's not power, I don't know what is, because we come with strategy, we come with empathy, and we come with institutional knowledge.
And real life experience.
Yes.
So I have to ask this, because I have to ask it not only for my own edification, but also for our listeners. Yeah. What is it exactly that you are doing for these folks that are contracting with your organization? Do you call them customers, clients?
No, we call them families.
Families.
We really do. We don't have. So it's a very interesting dynamic. We're the state chapter. We have under us, we have 20 different organizational chapters that are all affiliates of the Arc of Illinois. Mm-hmm. We're at the top. And then we have 3 other arcs, the Arc of Iroquois, the Arc of Winnebago, and the Arc of Quad Cities. So they're other arcs. What we do is we're basically the resource center, and we're funded heavily by the state of Illinois. We don't have an immense amount of funding through donations and foundation building, which is something I'm taking quite seriously to work on. But because we work under these state grants, that means we kind of work with the state. We pick up the pieces that the state quite can't take care of at this point. So when people call us, we put them in the right resources, whether that be an IEP specialist, whether that be the transition out of a state-operated developmental center. If that's a family that said, my child was just born and they have medical needs, who do I call? You call us. We're able to put you
So
in the
you
resources.
become a broker for these families to get the service that they need.
Yes,
This
and
is
an
not a
advocate.
place, but this isn't a place where they're placing their child for services.
No.
They're coming to the Arc of Illinois so you can advocate for them, guide them, direct them, and put them in a position where their children can get the services that they need so that their family can start running at full speed like yours is.
Yes, and I would say, I want to make it clear, like children or adults or parents, you know, we forget that there's lots of parents.
We do forget about the parents.
Have intellectual and developmental disabilities. And what do we do when they start to age? You know, we have a team here that's working with the state and working with federal legislators to create that community that can support palliative care for individuals with IDD. It's truly the strongest team. And within this short amount of time, I believe my whole goal, somebody asked me this question, I thought it was beautiful. They said, so you've been there 100 days. What's your proudest moment in this role? And I said, my staff believes in me. That's it.
Yeah.
They believe in me.
I mean, that could, for oftentimes that takes more than 100 days. So the fact that you did it under 100 is pretty powerful.
They believe. And the only reason they believe in me is because I believe in them. They are the most exquisite group of individuals I could have ever stumbled into. And to have the honor to lead them, man.
So I'm going to strip this down, and I don't mean to minimize it in any way, shape, or form, but I just want to, it sounds to me like you and your staff, there's a portion of what you're doing that is almost like a sales role. Yeah. Like and then there's another portion of the role that is advisement. And then there's another portion of the role that's facilitator. It's like this unbelievable combination of you have to have the energy to break down barriers, to break down walls, to get support, to get people to give their, as Sean Jeffers said, time, talent, and treasure. Yeah. Right. Oh my gosh, that is like, I'm going to get that tattooed on me. I think it's just stuck. I don't think I need to. I think it's branded in my brain.
Yes.
It's such a great quote.
Yes.
Time, talent, treasure. So that is the front end of the role, is to transfer that energy, to get people to hear the story, to buy into it, to want to support it, to want to contribute. And then from there, it's family facing, where it's, I can advise you, I can guide you, let's move you to the right place. And then it's facilitator to connect the two.
Yes.
Did I get it?
You got it great.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's what we do.
All right, it's the first time I did something right today. Let's go. It's only, by the way, so you know, it's only like 1 o'clock. So I was able to get something right before 2 o'clock. That's a good day.
Yes.
That is a good day. All right. So what's the hardest part?
That's an easy answer, but a difficult answer to say.
Well, then I'll ask a harder question if it's too easy for you.
All right, let's start there. I'll ask that one. I will answer that one.
Okay.
The hardest part of my role right now is to accept the fact we can't help everybody today. Mm-hmm. That's hard.
Okay. So you're impatient.
No. Yeah. What made you think that? Yeah, I'm incredibly impatient.
Okay.
I want
Is
to help
that a strength
everybody.
or a weakness?
It's both. So it's a strength in the fact that I've made it into a burning imperative, that we're here to win. We're here to have our voices heard. We're here to secure proper funding and appropriate funding for families in need. And that is a burning imperative. That comes with a little bit of impatience. You can't be like, well, let's see how it goes and get it done.
No.
The part that it can make it a negative is that because I'm so impatient, sometimes I get too in the weeds and I got to pull back. I got to refocus.
Is that where grace comes into play again?
That's where grace and where yoga and
where grace
breath.
yoga. Yeah.
Take a breath.
Yeah.
You can't help everybody today, but I think for me personally, that is the hardest. The stories we hear, John, the pain that individuals are in, and to know that we could help them if we just had $110 million.
Yeah. No big deal.
Not big.
Let me get my checkbook.
Oh my God, thank you. That's really why I was here.
Let's just solve the problem while
yeah.
we're here. I mean, I have that. Hold on. I might have that in the cushion of this chair. No problem.
I already checked the cushions when you were out. Yeah.
You did. I was wondering why you were flipping the cushion in our lobby. That was weird. Okay,
so it is hard because I deep and I mean it. You know, like I'm not just like, oh gosh, I wish we could help. Like, no, those are the stories that keep me up at night.
Okay, so tell us a story. Tell us a success story. Tell us a story about a family that has given you feedback, and as they were talking, you're welling up, and you're like, I'm not crying, you're crying. So tell me one of those beautiful stories. What What's lighting you up?
Okay. So we'll tell a story about Miss Shirley Perez, one of my directors, who's been at this a long time. And she has a daughter named Tamikia, and Tamikia has different disabilities. Okay. I don't know. I don't want to give her formal diagnosis and be incorrect about that. But she has disabilities, and Shirley has fought for her from day one, raised to this beautiful, incredible individual. And her power is when I went to Ray Graham Association, which is a facility in Lisle, and I did a speech there. There was a family that came up to me afterwards and said, one day I had no idea where to turn. I didn't know. My son was having such a hard time in school. We couldn't get any special education resources. He got kicked out of 3 different schools, which is something that happens to these kids a lot, which, by the way, is illegal. So we have to work on that. But that's neither here nor there. He called this family. It was a family, so it was a mother and a father, called and landed in the lap of Miss Shirley Perez. She fought like heck to get them IEP resources and to get them in touch with the appropriate advocates to get their child back in school, but didn't stop there. Followed up with this family, made sure that they had all the appropriate resources and therapy options, and that child, their child, who is now living independently in a SILA, community integrated living arrangement at Ray Graham, gave so much of that credit to the Arc of Illinois for supporting them from day crisis to day independence. And that's the type of team we have.
Well done, Ms. Perez.
She's
well done.
She's amazing.
Well done.
And I could tell a story like that about absolutely everybody there. I really could, but
well, we'll just bring you back for 19 podcasts.
We could do 19 podcasts. But that was a moment for me because I was still really new at that point, only 2 months into the role. So to have this family come up and say, we love the Arc of Illinois, and here's why, they saved my child's education, was like, wait a minute. Like, wow, we're really, this is the team. Yes.
So you don't stay still.
I do not.
You don't stay still.
No.
And that can be a really, really amazing strength.
Sure.
Some could look at it as, being fickle. Are you fickle, or are you like, you are fully aware of where your destiny is and you're just chasing it?
I know exactly where I'm going.
Okay. And where are we going?
To the top. We're going to change the entire face of advocacy for this industry. Period. That's what we're going to do. We're going to bring light and truth back to the industry that is IDD.
Yeah. Why is there a darkness on it that you have to bring to the light? Because I would imagine that this would be an industry of people that are filled with purpose and love and heart. I would imagine that it's an industry that would be filled with people that get feedback like this and are just, walking on clouds with that type of feedback. But I also am smart enough to understand that in every single industry and business, there's bureaucracy and there's people who take advantage of the system and all that. So who's putting the darkness in there that you need to bring to the light?
I'm going to respectfully
without their name.
Start that statement with, and I will say this, that Governor Pritzker's administration has given more money to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities than any governor in Illinois history. And his team has worked hard to start establishing a safer transition for individuals and better special education for individuals. And I can't say, I'm going to start with
there's a portion of the listeners that are in Illinois that are like, yeah, we knew that, he's awesome. And then there's another portion of like, yeah, right.
And I think
so whatever portion
fair.
You're in, you heard it from Samantha. So,
I will give credit where credit is due.
She's giving credit. There you go.
However, we're really short on the amount of funding that would allow us to create a system that effectively can implement services from 0 to 3 to special education to 22 plus to individual living to palliative care.
Yeah.
For us as humans who don't have disabilities, it can be tough to navigate our way through those waters. But when you have an intellectual or developmental disability, there are so many more barriers to living an independent and fulfilling lifestyle. And governmentally wise, from federal down to state, we are ranked 49th in the United States for IDD funding. And I don't say that casually. That is a tough thing for me.
Do we want to throw the last state under the bus?
No, we don't have to do that. We don't have. This is not a win. And for me,
not a win.
It's a competitive industry too, right? Like what facility is making more money? How can we help this person first? And to me, I will. There is no competition here. We should not be fighting amongst ourselves because we're not winning the war. Yet. We can't go. Let's build the team to go to war with, if you will. I think that there's a lot of mess. And my goal is to create a message.
So to become properly funded,
yes,
is a money decision. So there's all of the human element of it that we know is all good. You're impacting families positively, right? It's all there's all that is. And we could go on and on, but so let's just call that the good. That's the human side of things.
Amazing.
But we understand how funding works, and we understand how people work. People work on math. You got to chase. If you ever want to know where something starts and ends, go start with the money, and it ends with the money. Okay, so
yes.
So economically, let's just talk about from a sociological standpoint and economically.
Okay.
How does benefiting these families, these children, actually have a positive impact to the greater good of society and the economy? Because if we can identify that, then there's a strong chance that people will be like, okay, well, it not only makes sense because I'm doing the right thing, but financially, I'm also going to benefit my culture, my society, my corporation,
your family.
Like, so if I'm going to give up what's in it for me?
We are the most underutilized workforce in the United States of America. And if we were provided with the right customized employment, we could absolutely significantly impact the job force in ways that we have never seen. If we created inclusion, where instead we create barricades and accepted that not everybody acts like you, learns like you, loves like you, lives like you, but we're able to accommodate those with the differences and allow them the opportunity to thrive, we would incredibly and significantly change the job force.
Okay.
That's what I feel.
So companies doing this would have to maybe modify the way that they hire.
Yeah.
All right. Is there a job placement portion of the Arc of Illinois?
That's what we're working with. So we work with the different providers, and under most providers, they will have I think it's called Employee First, and I'll double check that, or different customized employment programs where they train individuals and then place them with incredible companies that will help with individuals with IDD. And the feedback you get from those companies brave enough to say, yeah, we want to try something new. The feedback is always, they're always on time. They're always in a right mood. They show up and they do their job. No, they might not be able to do what you and I are doing right now, but they might if we gave them the opportunity and the right training to do so. However, their attitude and their joy of life makes it that they're some of the best employees you'll ever have at your organization. And I was blessed enough to get to work with a lot of individuals with IDD, and I can attest to that. The positive mindset, and everything felt like they are people.
Yeah.
So some days they have bad days, no different than you or I.
Oh, gosh. Thank God I'm allowed to have bad days.
You're allowed. Unfortunately, often with individuals with IDD, there's not a lot of dignity in risk. And once they make a mistake, have a behavior, well, then we put them right back where we found them. And that's not fair. So I truly do believe that if we worked to create a customized employment program in the state of Illinois, and then nationwide as well, that was strong enough, it would change families. Because another note that I'd really like to add is right now, I'm in this role. I love my role, and I'm making a very strong income in this role, right? Enough to provide for my family. I couldn't work for 6 years. So my point to that is all that I am able to purchase economically, all the money that I'm able to provide back to businesses and to state income taxes that I could not provide because we don't have appropriate child care or therapies or inclusion in schools, that could also very significantly impact budgets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it comes back.
Yeah,
so I'm playing devil's advocate, right? Because
like
you're a CEO of an organization, right? And so let's look from a CEO's perspective.
Yes.
Like, how's this going to affect my culture? So now you're telling me that I have to change the way that I do training. Who am I going to hire to do the training? Like, I can see how CEOs in their mind, the wheels would be turning. You're a very persuasive person. So how do you persuade through that? Because persuasion only gets you so far, right? And then eventually you have to start to lay out the math.
That's right.
And again, I always go back to, I was taught a long time ago in sales, if you're selling to features and benefits, that only appeals to you. For instance, if you call up a person and you say, hey, can you do me a favor because you think we could meet for an hour? They're doing you the favor to give you the hour. Yes. What's in it for them? So I was taught the concept of WIFM. What's in it for me? And if you understand what's in it for them, then it's a lot easier to speak to that. So let's talk to CEOs out there that maybe politically have some say, right? And have the purse strings to offer this up and could become advocates to the journey and the goals that you have. Yeah. Let's speak to them, in a very clear way. I think that you've laid it out a bit, but let's give them a 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. These are the things, like, if you jump on board with this, this is how it impacts your organization. There's a PR perspective to this too. Big PR. Because you start putting this in, you start sending out press releases. This is what we're doing for society. Yeah. Your brand immediately gets extremely positive attention.
Absolutely. Because you're the brand that is becoming inclusive. Mm-hmm. And for my family, for so many families, inclusion. And inclusion means not just, you get to come too. Like, no, you have a seat at the table. Your voice matters. Let's
clarify inclusion too. Inclusion doesn't mean that, like, you're just putting somebody in there so that you can say that you did, right? We're not checking a box here.
Yes.
That person that you're including is also going to be productive.
Absolutely.
So
they're going to
you're not just hiring them so you could say we hired somebody. Look, we include people.
Yes.
And that, no, this is somebody who actually is going to join and in their unique way with their attributes is going to contribute.
Absolutely.
So you're not checking a box, you're achieving a goal.
You're not checking a box. You're creating, okay, I could speak to this. I won't even use their name. There was a lovely woman who had IDD, who happened to have IDD. I feel like I have to move this really quickly. I keep hitting it with my hand. She was disabled, okay? And I worked with her when I worked at Little City. This girl, her mind was able to find every detail of every table. I've never seen a cleaner room in my life. And her goal was to work at what's that called? The Wilderness Lounge or the Wilderness, what is that in Wisconsin? It's like the big hotel that has the water
with all the
park.
Swimming, with all the water slides?
Is it the Wilderness Lounge?
We'll call it something like that. I think I've driven past it. I know of it. Anyways.
That place.
Yes.
That was her dream, was to clean rooms at that hotel. Now, I don't know if she's there yet. Yeah. When I left, she wasn't there. However, what Little City had that was phenomenal was a mock hotel room, kind of like this, where you could practice those skills of how you would work in that industry. So while it may not be the jobs that we think of that are, glamorous.
By the way, the jobs that you're probably struggling to hire for and you complain that you continue to turn over and you can't figure out why in the world nobody wants to take the job at that income rate. And then you've got somebody sitting over there that just wants to be included and have a chance, that is going to absolutely master the role and is going to put pride in it, is going to well represent your brand. You mean that role?
That role.
Okay.
That role right there. Those are the roles that we're speaking of, and those are the roles that many, many facilities train these individuals for, and they're ready to work. We do have struggles. I don't want to be ignorant to it. We have struggles with transportation. We have struggles with staffing.
And that's where you need the help.
That's where we need the help. When I look at it, if I think of my big brain, my big scale idea.
Bragger.
Yeah. When I think of my brilliance, I can't help but think, no, I don't mean it quite. Look at that imposter syndrome.
When I think of my amazing looks and my talent and my beautiful hair, we call it a wide part. It's not bald. We call it a wide part. When I think of that, go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Let your big brain go.
My big brain. I was like, my goodness, what if we could facilitate? And I am currently working with the U of I, and they have an incredible program all about customized employment. How do we accommodate individuals to go to work and have a fulfilling life, right? How do we do it? So we're working together on this project, and we're coming together and we're collaborating. And the reason is if we had a more expansive opportunity to train, think about it, we're creating a job force too. And that job force prepares others to enter the workforce.
It could be a new category of job force.
It sure
as
hell could.
And it's an active pool of employees.
Of candidates.
It's a whole new economy.
Yes, and of skilled candidates. This isn't people that what are we going to do with them? Like, no, they're brilliant and capable and willing, eager, and happy.
It's awesome.
Come on.
Okay.
It's the best.
So this, you know where you're going, but we talked about the fact that, you've had some interaction. You were dealing with the government side of Little City. You've had some interaction.
Sure.
And did you drop a little birdie on the shoulder that you might want to get into politics too?
I mean, that is IWill's goal, is that one day I would run for office. Yes.
Which office?
I can't say.
Are we going president?
No. I mean, that's wild. I don't think, when I think about what I'm doing right now, I don't know if I could talk about this. Okay, when I think about what I'm doing right now, and when I see, Illinois is comprised of 102 beautiful counties. It's a large, beautiful country down south. We don't have a lot of representation down there. And then, of course, we have the wild, wild north. We have McHenry and Winnebago and all. Then everybody comes back to Cook because we've got Chicago. But I got to tell you, Illinois is pretty darn massive.
Well, it's like when an out-of-towner says, "Where are you from?" And you go, "Oh, I'm from Chicago." Yeah. And you find out that the person lives
Algonquin.
2 hours away from Chicago.
100%.
Like, actually lives in Racine, Wisconsin.
Yes.
And they're like, "I'm from
Kenosha.
Chicago." Yeah.
Because if you say, like, Carbondale.
Yeah, they're like, huh?
What's that? Yeah.
Do what now?
Or go down deep south, like we're in Pulaski County. Like, I'm sorry, where this exists? Like, it's a big, big state. And I think one of the amazing things about IWill is I got to see a lot of Southern Illinois. I got to travel the state and learn what services weren't being provided.
Yeah.
So when I look at that, I'll be honest. I couldn't see myself in a role that wasn't a statewide role.
Yeah.
And I would never run against anybody in office right now, by the way. I would not, but why not be comptroller? Why not be secretary of state? Why not be the governor?
Let's go. So just to make clear here to all the folks, the Arc of Illinois, we're not talking about next week.
No.
We're not talking about like even in like a year or two. We're talking about like
10.
you got like some massive things to accomplish.
I do.
And your time here is going to be significant. You're going to leave a legacy. Like you're going to leave your mark. You're going to put a big old footprint in there. And it's going to have to be Bigfoot potentially who comes in after you to take over the role.
Thank you very much.
So are there any Sasquatches that are interested in? So just to make certain that we're not getting out ahead of our skis, you're talking a decade out
or longer
after you've done what you are destined to do here, and you can feel like, hey, look, we've done everything we could do. Theo Epstein with the Chicago Cubs has a theory that you should only stay at a place for 8 years.
Okay.
Because if you are going full steam and you are getting shit done and you are maxing out every day, it runs its course where you could only do so much to benefit the brand, and then somebody else has to come in and add their flavor to it and do their thing, and then you've got to go somewhere else and put your 8 years in to do the next thing. I would say that he's been fairly amazingly, brilliantly successful.
Pretty successful.
In that, his business acumen, knowledge, and expertise brought the Red Sox to World Series victories and the Cubs, the two teams that were dying and starving for world championships more than anyone else.
Yes.
And he's the common denominator. So,
that's right.
So maybe that's to the point, is that it's an 8 to 10 year full run, win some championships, and then go do it somewhere else.
Yeah,
maybe
we can go with that.
But it could also be that you go, hey, I'm going to retire here. Who knows? Things always change.
I would no, and that's not a bad thing. I
was testing you to see what.
I'm not saying.
All right,
because
so
there's
we're not
too
wavering.
much greatness behind me.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the other thing. If you plant yourself, they can't rise.
Yeah, I think it's like and this is important. This would be to the ladies.
She's breaking the fourth wall.
You told me.
I told you, break the fourth. There's your camera. You got 2 cameras. Take your pick.
I am a mother of 3 small children. And if you're like, I don't think I can do that because I'm too busy, I have news. You are too busy, and it won't be easy. But I just want to remind you that your worth in leadership is present, and you can do this just as good as any man. No offense to you, man, but that is the truth. I think there's this conversation around, if you're a mother and you work, who's taking care of your kids?
Yeah.
I get asked that all the time. I'm like, oh, they take care of themselves. I've done such a good time there.
What happens at our house is I take care of my kids when my wife can't.
There you go.
So
isn't that simple?
Isn't that kind of the way that? So maybe maybe let's do that a little bit.
Maybe let's do that a little bit. You are
maybe
worthy.
Sharing the fun.
Yeah, you are worthy. You are brilliant, and you can shine. And there's nothing I'm doing that you couldn't do too. There's nothing.
And by the way, I'm all for. So I don't take any offense to what you're saying. I'm all for women absolutely clobbering it and kicking butt
Bam.
and crushing and going after it. But I'm not all for it if it means that you have to put men down in order to rise up, right? So
Never.
I love right. So that's the needle to thread.
Isn't that fair?
It's like if we all need to be fully equal if we're going to be fully equal. So let's just let's go. Let's all do that.
Absolutely. I speak about that with my partner, Jeff, all the time. It's like, you can't step on someone's head and then say, well, I didn't get this role because of this.
Yeah.
No. Are you willing to put in the work too?
And
if you're willing to put in the work, then yes.
And by the way, I can't imagine any organization, a team, an organization that would be like, we don't want to get the absolute best person in the role because they're a woman. Like, if there is that, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say there is, and shame on you for saying that. But if there is, holy cow, shame on you. Like, what are you doing? If it's about winning and getting shit done, you put the best in the best role to do the best work.
That's right.
Like, every company should be a meritocracy. It should be like blindfolds. Interviews should be on blindfolds. And it should be like the when they do like the 60 Minutes with the FBI informant and they blur out the face and they make the voice like weird. Yeah. Like every interview should be that. So it's just purely on the merit of what it is that you have to say. Can you imagine like a whole workforce that's just blurred out with in 1963, I saw this, and then you like go behind the curtain and it's you talking. But I mean, let's be honest. Like, if we're going to actually dominate as a species, we need to start calling ourselves humans and stop all the other classifications.
The human experience.
Yes, right.
But a lot of women I talk to say to me all the time, oh, I can't do that. I couldn't never do it. Yes, you can.
Yeah. It's imposter syndrome.
Baby.
Stop saying
exactly.
that. And by the way, you're not the only one with imposter syndrome. I've had imposter syndrome every moment of every single day. Yeah. And the only way that you rise up is you kick that imposter syndrome right in the gut.
You do it anyway.
And then guess what? Once you do it, another level of imposter syndrome kicks in. So
don't tell me
that. It never stops. It never stops. And that's,
I'm not ready for that.
Like, you can't find like, confidence is hard.
It is.
But it's such a superpower if you have it.
And you build it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I think you were talking about like stacking good habits.
Yeah.
Don't listen to the negative in your head. That's always going to be there. But you can listen to it respectfully and then push it away and get shit done anyways.
That's it. You just got to go. I had these guests on yesterday, and it must have been a fantastic episode because it's resonated with me throughout this episode.
Yeah.
And I asked the question, what's the best advice you've ever given? And Christine referred to her son and said, I tell my kids, you do you, right? And as we progressed into that, because I never let anyone say anything without trying to peel into it a little bit and figure it out. As we progress into that, the whole you do you scenario, there's a thread to needle on that. You do you as long as it's not negatively affecting somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's to your point. Like, you can't rise up by stepping on someone else to rise up.
No.
So anyone who's ever done that should be highlighted, and we should be pointing the finger at them and saying, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
But if you are good-willed and well-intended and believe you have a destiny to do something, then don't allow anything to stand in your way, and never be a victim. Never be a victim. No. God did not make you to be a victim.
No.
You were made to shine.
That's right.
So you got to let that victimhood just kind of fall off.
Yes.
And then you can get moving. You have had so many things happen in your life where you could say, I've been a victim of this. I've had this happen to me. I've been a victim. I don't see that or hear that when I'm talking to you.
I'm not a victim. It developed grit.
Yeah.
I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor.
Let's go.
That's what it is. Yes, you can't be a victim of your circumstances. Be a survivor of your story, and then create a world in which others feel safe to be survivors with you.
You've been one of the best guests that I've ever interviewed. It's been absolutely brilliant spending time with you. And I do want to ask you to kind of leave us on. You've given so many inspirational nuggets, but I do want to leave you with this last question, and then we'll go back to what we talked about. What is the best advice that you've ever been given? And then I want you to follow up with the best advice that you give.
The best advice that I've ever been given is do not be afraid to ask questions. It has helped me in every part of it. Don't let your pride get in the way of saying, I don't know, and I would like to find out. That's changed my entire life. That's powerful, because I will tell you that a lot of people do stagnate because they're afraid to ask, because they're embarrassed that the person would be like, you don't know that? You don't know that.
Like, well, no, I don't. And I'd like to.
And for the IDD industry, one of my first conversations I had with a gentleman who's very well known in the industry was, he said, my son lives in a SILA. And I was like, what's a SILA? And a SILA is a community integrated living arrangement. I know now what it is, but I was the director of government relations for someone that provides SILAs. And he's like, how long have you been at this job? And I was like, 6 days. So
I don't speak an acronym, sorry.
There are so
let's go.
Acronyms. Yeah. But, I didn't know, but I wasn't afraid to ask. Well, I asked, So that's the best advice.
So best advice that you would give.
Do it. Do it scared. Do it hungry. Do it nervous. Do it. Show up. You're worth it.
Samantha Alloway, I want to remind you, you got shit done.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
This is amazing.
It's been amazing. Cheers. Awesome. Can your business handle 15% growth? If yes, you have to engage with 2020 Design. They fuse data and creativity to stop the scroll, break through the noise, and grab the attention of your future customers. 2020 Design will create competitive, click-worthy campaigns, design and build custom websites, spark your social media presence, and structure email campaigns that get right to your audience, the decision maker. Let's boost attention and awareness, which allows you to convert more sales. Check them out at 2020design.com. That's the number 20, TWENTY design.com.